Welcome to Cryptids of the Corn. Each week, Justin and Jay take a look at a topic in the crypto and paranormal world. They focus on the Midwest and Appalachia of the U.S., but sometimes they venture out with everything from well-known monster sightings to one-off cryptids, live person interviews to actual fieldwork sneaking in some science lessons. There's sure to be something you'll enjoy. Please join us this episode of Cryptids of the Corn.
Welcome back to this Megalania-themed episode. I'm the great and powerful mystery.
And I'm interdimensional space cadet Jay. I don't know.
And together we are Cryptids of the Corn podcast. We're scientific and magical thinking meet. I hadn't even started. I'm still on Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
No, I had a work meeting today for everybody at home, so it was like...
Was it imaginical?
No, it was just stuff we needed to work on and stuff like that. Nothing bad, just like a lot of like the droning of doing a work meeting.
Yeah, the boring stuff.
But, so this is a really special episode, because this is something that I've known about for a long time, but it's not very popular in the cryptid community, and I don't really know why. But yeah, so, I might have turned myself up too loud. What do I sound like to you?
You sound fine.
Okay. It's really loud in my headset, but that's fine. All right, sorry guys. I messed with the buttons last night. We had our, a live stream kind of deal with Hide Seek Archives and a bunch of other cool guys. Go to the Facebook page, just on there.
It was fun. Good time.
Yeah, so I changed the buttons a little bit.
Uh-oh.
So, I'm putting them back. But yeah, so our good friend, who was it?
Leslie Ann. Leslie Ann.
Leslie Ann. Oh my gosh.
And I'm the one that wrote it down.
I know. But Leslie, during a Cryptids and Coffee, asked about Megalania.
Yep.
Which, for anybody at home, we're going to have a very in-depth discussion what Megalania is. But it's a very kind of not talked about cryptid. It's not just a cryptid. It was a biological animal that we knew existed. We have both fossils and bones.
And footprints.
Of this creature. It's a 25-foot Komoto dragon. It's in the same genus, so that's one step up from the actual species.
Okay.
It was genus, then species.
Then phylum and class.
That's the other way.
Oh, sorry.
That's getting bigger.
Oh.
But yeah, so this isn't talked about really much in cryptid circles. Even in Australia cryptid pages, I'm on a couple for stuff like the yowie and the bunyip and stuff like that. Which the bunyip we'll talk about later.
Okay, just keep it under wraps right now.
But, which are well-known cryptids. They actually even had a bunyip skull, which we'll do an episode on bunyip, in 1980-something.
I have no idea. I only know bunions.
Bunyip is such a weird creature because it has so many different descriptions. It's like a collect-all name.
Okay, gotcha.
But the Megalania went extinct roughly 25,000 years ago.
Okay.
Aborigines, which are the native Australians, moved onto the continent roughly 40,000 years ago.
Okay.
So there's a big overlap there was definitely Megalania
when there was
Aborigines.
Gotcha.
All right, but before we get into the meat of this episode, we got our front of house stuff. Once again, Patreon, we're always adding up new stuff. Most of that content is Patreon members picked. And Patreon members also get exclusive voting rights for, depending on what level you pick, for the main page. We're going to start doing giveaways on Patreon, Patreon exclusive t-shirts, stuff like that.
And we already did one Patreon meet and greet kind of thing.
We've done two.
Two now.
Andrew,
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
true. Well,
and Rachel and Sean.
Andrew drove and met us. Same difference, I guess.
Yeah, we poured the drinks.
That's true.
But yeah, so our members currently are Nick. Hi, Nick. He's Nick from America's Scaryland. He basically paid for his own advertising. Rachel, Sean, Andrew, and Ralph.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, and Ralph just sent us... This will come out in a couple weeks, so the time travel with podcasting is weird.
Oh, yeah.
But Ralph, on the day that we're recording this, the day before, he sent us an amazing care package with all kinds of cool goodies and
cookies and cornbread.
So thank you again, Ralph. We appreciate it.
Yeah, big time.
Good luck with your bird surveys.
turn that off.
Did it just go off?
It buzzed.
That's the first case of beer.
Uh-oh.
Anyways. So t-shirts are for sale right now. We have our 5 arts of the season 1. So the Frogman, Bigfoot, Dogman, Sinkhole Sam, and the Atmospheric Jelly.
Yep.
If you want it, either email or Facebook is the easiest way to get a hold of that. I just talked to a guy about doing a website today, so we'll see about how that comes.
Ooh.
I'm always doing stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah, this is news to me. Breaking news.
Upcoming shows, make sure you go to the Facebook page. Bigfoot and Brews, we're doing a giveaway. The rules and stuff will be on the Facebook page. Get on there. We're giving away 2 free tickets to that event.
Big deal.
And that is a very selective event. By that I mean it's a very small number of tickets being sold. Mm-hmm. So this isn't...
Just 225, right?
225 or 250, I think he said at max. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get a very personal evening with a lot of these high-end speakers, high-end vendors. I know Ron Moorhead's the big guy, but there's James Lady. And then a couple other really high-end people, including us.
Yeah.
That I'm excited for that because it's going to be very different than most conferences. But I love how normal conferences are, but I'm also going to love how this one is.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, because it's very different. Mm-hmm. It's just we had how big? I bet you we had 250 people pass us in a half hour.
Right.
But we can only say 3 things to each person. And, you just can't get that intimate level.
Right.
Here's a contact card if you have a story kind of deal. Mm-hmm. At this event, we'll be able to sit down and actually record stories.
And actually have conversations with people, which I'm looking forward to, especially if it's in a brewery.
Mm-hmm. Our next event, which when this comes out should be the week after this event, is the Michigan Bigfoot Conference. That's another great one. Hide and Seek Archives puts that one on.
Mm-hmm. Josh,
he's a great guy. He's going to be on the show after the conference. I got confirmation from him, which he's just so busy, and I completely understand.
Well, yeah.
Once the conference is over, I'm sure he'll have a lot more free time. Mm-hmm. But he's his own researcher. He does all kinds of actual field stuff. But yeah, so then we have the Bigfoot and Brews after that, and then it's the Southwest Virginia Bigfoot and Friends Festival.
That's in September, right?
Yeah, we have 3 in September, 1 in October, and 1 in November. Whew. So yeah, you can find all these on the Facebook page. Just go to the Facebook page. It's the easiest way.
Like us. If you don't like us, yes.
Share, subscribe.
Smash that share button.
Leave us a rate.
Oh, yeah. Rate and review.
Mm-hmm. All right. This beginning's already been too long.
Okay. Let's get into Mr. Megalania.
Megalania. So, it's Varius parasus.
Okay.
That's the scientific name.
Okay.
It's an extinct species of giant monitor lizard, part of the Megafauna assemblage that used to inhabit Australia during the Pleistocene. It is the largest terrestrial lizard to ever have known to exist. Oh my gosh. I even wrote this. Reaching estimated lengths of 3.5 to 7 meters to us Americans, us winners. That's 11 feet to 23 feet.
There you go.
But there are some people that estimate they may have reached 40 feet.
Oh, man.
If you remind, I can tell you why now. Basically, some of these skeletons we only have vertebra for because they had a lot of vertebra.
So they just scaled it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of hard to tell how big they were. So there's conservative and very embellished estimations. Mm-hmm. So we do the same thing with Megalodon. Like people say Megalodon was a 60 to 70 foot shark. That is the high-end estimations.
Is that just based off a tooth they found or something?
Jaws and teeth.
Jaws and teeth? Okay.
That's the only hard part of a shark.
Ah, that's right. Rest is cartilage. Mm-hmm.
So that's the higher end estimate, and then the 40 to 45 feet is the more conservative estimate, which is what you can see is probably most of your Megalodon population was that size, and then your upper size would be your freaks.
Gotcha.
So it's like
the genetic freaks.
Yeah, or Big Blue, which is like the biggest great white shark alive today. Mm-hmm. She is just old and big and strong and healthy. Mm-hmm. So she's made it through most of what eats great white sharks, and she's above that level.
Oh, okay.
So she's pretty safe.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to eat her.
Big Blue.
Mm-hmm. But, okay, so estimated weights, 214 pounds is the littlest one we have, but their big guy, he's 4,500 pounds.
That's quite the size.
That is a hippopotamus.
That's like a semi-truck.
That is a hippopotamus.
Yeah.
So next time you go to one of the zoos, they have a hippo. An adult hippo, not the babies. Imagine that as a really angry lizard.
Lizard, yeah. Like a whip-tail lizard or something.
Oh, we don't have to whip you with a tail.
Okay.
I don't think there was much Megalania was scared of. I don't think he was scared of the people at the time. Megalania is thought to be similar in the ecological role of Komoto dragons, which is the only surviving member in their direct genus, so it's a family group. The youngest fossil remains of these giant lizards date back to Australia around 50,000 years ago, and they were thought to go extinct 25,000 years ago.
Okay.
So not a super old species.
I was going to say, relatively, that's not that
when
old.
we talk about Komoto dragons and Megalania later, that's a big push to why me and you talked off air about.
Yeah.
That why people think that may be the real option is if you take... We'll get into that later.
All right.
Because that's an exciting...
We'll peel that back.
If you can't tell, this is an episode I'm pretty well versed in.
You don't say, huh?
So good pick. Good pick, Leslie. Just a side note, it is hypothesized that Megalania was venomous also. I say also because Komoto dragons are currently venomous.
Okay.
They used to think they had just a really nasty bacterial bite, which they do. But they actually have free-flowing venom glands.
Oh, wow, okay.
And the only reason it took this much time of arguing and figuring it out is because they're further back on their throat than most other venomous snakes. Which
The glands are?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the snake's glands are in their heads, so people weren't looking for venom glands in the throat.
Right, yeah.
But their monitor lizards are not snakes, and these, especially older biologists, really had a hard time coming to terms with that.
Okay. Well, like they're completely from separate origins, I guess.
Monitor lizards are not far off from snakes, but they're not any closer to any other lizard.
Okay, gotcha.
They did separate. Monitor lizards and snakes have a similar lineage.
How did no one dissect one at one
They
point?
did. They didn't know what they were.
Gotcha. Okay.
These were thought to be saliva glands.
Oh, okay.
For
Makes sense.
aid in digesting, because Komodo dragons eat everything. They'll rip off large chunks of meat, but they'll eat bone, tendon, stuff like that.
Dang.
So saltwater crocodiles, for example, do the same thing, but they produce a lot of acid.
Okay, to dissolve or digest everything.
Yep. So they were thinking that it was these glands to help get through that.
Right. Makes sense.
Because they're not, crocodiles and lizards are very distant.
And what'd they do? They milk one and find it?
It's just
venom glands like a snake?
People were arguing about it, especially I think it was like 2002 to 2010 is like when the arguments about this in most fields of herpetology.
Okay.
Because they're like, oh, these are venom glands, and everyone's like, no, monitor lizards don't have venom glands. Turns out a lot of them do.
Interesting.
But yeah, so it's very probable that Megalania was venomous.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
how Komodo dragons use it is they basically, before we got to the islands of Komodo and Indonesia and stuff, there was pygmy elephants, and that was their favorite prey.
Dang.
And they would just run up, bite them, and back off.
And let the venom do its thing?
Because even if there was prey they could eat and pull down and die and kill, it's a lot more energy, use. They really just bite and let you walk. And they will always be behind you.
Yeah.
And they won't get any closer to you until you're really weak. But they got to keep you walking.
Oh, for it to run its course? Gotcha. Okay.
So you'll see them walking behind cows, not chasing cows.
Yeah.
But now they'll walk and kind of follow them, keep moving.
Keep moving, yeah.
Keep moving. Any questions so far?
So far, no, it's pretty straightforward. It's a big...
It's a very muscular... Everybody at home, if you haven't, look up a picture of Komodo dragon, or you can look up a picture of Megalania. We have really, really good molds of what... They're just big Komodo dragons.
Yeah. I was going to say, it sounds like a giant lizard that lives in Australia.
Bad attitude. We'll get to that.
Okay. Didn't know about his personality yet.
Bad attitude.
Okay.
Wasn't scared of much.
Why would you be?
I wouldn't, when you're a venomous lizard the size of a Mack truck.
Yeah, what's there to be scared of? Weather?
I guess, it's Australia.
Yeah, that's about it. I don't
I
know.
don't think anybody's on the top of the food chain in Australia.
No.
I don't care how big and bad you think you are. Bunyip will get you.
Bunyip.
But yeah, so I'm going to read you. So we're going to get into the Aborigines, what they said about the Megalania.
Okay.
But yeah, so Megalania, according to the legends, is the name of this section. In many Aborigine stories, they have been handed down through oral record in cave paintings that have been discovered. They suggest that these reptiles were capable of bringing in fire and destruction along with them. So we talked about that on the live stream yesterday with thunderbirds and stuff. Said to be pulling in storms because that's what they observed.
Right.
Australia is very prone to wildfires.
Okay.
If there's a wildfire behind you, you're going to be moving.
True, yeah.
So even though you're just the biggest thing running away from the fire, you're still running away from the fire.
Kind of like you talked about, I don't know if that was on air or not, or an episode about fire salamanders, how they got
Right. Yes, I'm sure I've said that on air several times.
Yeah.
Same thing. That it's just a coincidence. They happen to be running away from fire.
Exactly.
And they're like, oh my gosh, that dragon brought in the fire to kill us all.
Look at it falling behind it.
Yeah, and he's like, no, I'm getting the hell out of here too.
You guys got better go too.
What are you guys standing around here for?
Looking at me.
There's a volcano erupting. Get moving.
Right, yeah. Trying to spear him.
Yeah. The Aborigines, we'll get to what the Aborigines did with the Megalania. It's one of the few animals they did not mess with.
Okay.
Because it was not worth it.
Right, yeah.
These are not easy to kill.
Doesn't sound like it.
Even Komoto Dragons are not easy to kill.
Oh, really?
But yeah. So, additionally, their ability to bring in fire and cause destruction. Fossils of these creatures suggest that they were not purely terrestrial creatures. They most likely they were partially aquatic. They spent a good chunk of time in the water as well as in the land and the desert.
Okay.
That may sound weird. It's not. Almost every living monitor lizard is like that.
Okay.
So I don't really get why that was a big speculation. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
If everybody else in the family
does it,
it's not that odd.
Yeah, it's not
a big one.
Not that breaking of news.
Komodo dragons, they swim island to island. They swim in the ocean and stuff. They swim very far, long distances.
Oh, I see that. I did not know.
Komodo dragons are very powerful swimmers. All monitor lizards are
pretty good swimmers.
Pretty good swimmers.
They're not like those one lizards that run on top of the water.
Basilisk lizards, and no.
Oh, okay.
Also known as Jesus Christ lizards.
Yep. Because
they walk in water.
Yep, I've seen it.
We just seen one at the zoo when I took William up.
Oh, really?
They had a basilisk in a big water exhibit.
Oh, nice.
So where was I? Now you got me all thrown around. The thought is that the Aborigines' tales that speak of Megalania. There are many Aborigine tales that speak of Megalania heading into the ocean. That's where I was going with it.
Okay, gotcha.
So here's a really fun story. And before I tell you how old the story is, so the cool thing about Aborigines, they have the oldest written and oral history on the planet.
That's awesome.
They took the best care of cave paintings. They took the best care of oral traditions of any group ever on the planet that we know about. And they're still able to read their stuff.
There's a really good documentary about the Aborigines on YouTube.
They're very cool, down to nature people.
It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. They remind me of the Native Americans, but like times 10 of respecting nature and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Aborigines didn't have many wars from when I was seeing. I didn't do a big Aborigine search, but they don't seem to. It didn't seem to happen a lot.
And not that I'm aware of.
I think they had a lot of other stuff to worry about. Like we talked about people with aliens.
Yeah.
That once aliens get here, people are not going to see color anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. That might band us together.
But okay, so here's a really cool story. So the story claims that on one stormy day, a Megalania, or a log lizard, we'll just go with Megalania. So the Megalania happened to wander along the beach and look out towards the ocean. It was witnessed by the whole tribe. It wasn't uncommon for these tribes to follow the Megalania around to make sure it left.
Gotcha,
so it didn't come back at night. So as it looked out to the ocean, it began to swim out into the ocean. While it was in the ocean, it was attacked by the great white shark. These two creatures began to fight and struggle with each other, sinking down. After a while, the Megalania was able to overcome the shark, drag its carcass back onto the shore, and then eat the great white shark. The Aborigines waited for the Megalania to leave, and then took what they wanted from the carcass after.
Dang.
How old is this story?
5,000 years. I don't know. My shot in the dark.
Less than 200 years.
Oh, wow. So they didn't go extinct 25,000 years ago, or whatever they said.
Well, according to the Aborigines. So we're talking about a culture that used time a little differently. So they say it's roughly X generations back. But who knows if they dropped to zero or not.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Instead of 20 generations or 10 generations, it's 100 generations.
Right, yeah. It's hard to say then, huh?
But yeah. So, this story basically took place in the 1800s.
Right.
But yeah, they still see it. Well, we won't say that, but Aborigines talk about them like Aborigines talk about stuff like giant wombats.
Yeah.
Were the size of cows, and they were mean. They had an attitude with them. And they talk about those as spirits because they're not here anymore. Mm-hmm. But they talk about the Megalania as other creatures.
Still here,
like a creature. Like they're just rare. They're there, but...
You don't want to run into it.
Yeah, you don't want to see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk about now anything about the Aborigines in the Megalania.
Well, I know, like, Aborigines, they're really in tune with, like you said, with nature and with spirits and stuff. They're like, some of their traditions are about like these little ghostly like spirits that kind of help them and guide them do things and hunt and things and harvest.
A weird thing about Australia is it's got hundreds, if not thousands, of tales of the thing that we call the will-o'-the-wisp.
Yeah, it's like a tall white, like ghostly thing, guys.
It's like a ghost lanterns is what they're called in Australia.
Yep. There you go. That's a good. Yeah, it's a lot of cool stories with those, and just hearing them. If you actually find like the documentary of them talking about it, it's pretty interesting stuff.
Aborigines are really cool people.
Mm-hmm. They are. They're really neat, and like I said, like when they do their, they'll say, "Oh, shoot, I could talk about how they make their didgeridoos and stuff like that." It's pretty cool. Like nature creates that instrument for them when they play it, and then they do this party like at night around that's what I call it, a party, but they go around the fire. One guy will be playing the didgeridoo, and then they'll all doing like their ritual dances, which is just imitating the animals around them and the animals they want to hunt, stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
The Aborigines are, once again, a very unique, neat people.
Mm-hmm. But yep, that's about all I got there.
All right. So we're going to talk about modern Megalania sightings.
Okay.
All right. So despite these stories and supposed sightings, however, most cryptozoologists do not recognize the Megalania as still being alive. Most believe it died out in the Ice Age, along with pretty much every other terrifying Australian creature.
Right. Yeah, they all are.
There was a lot of scary giant marsupials and mean things like trilocines and like what was the other one? They're in Ark, the big thing that hangs from the trees that looks like a lion.
Oh, like a... No, wait.
Thylacolea.
Yeah.
Thylacolea.
Yeah.
The saber-toothed... Or the axe-toothed cat, even though it's a marsupial.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it is? Mm-hmm. Didn't know that. I thought it was just like a big saber-tooth looking thing.
Axe-toothed cat.
Interesting.
Because it had 4 giant incisors that were its whole jaw, and so it bit more like a turtle.
Oh, okay.
Nasty.
Oh.
So despite this, experts believe that some of the stories of the giant lizard attacks are much more likely Komoto dragons or other giant monitor lizards. There's a bunch of monitor lizards in Australia.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about Komoto dragons in Australia later because they comes up in these articles a lot that they blame the Komoto dragon. Not native.
Not even native to Australia?
Not native to Australia.
At all?
In any historical map I could find, which we're going to have a whole big section about the Komoto dragon.
Yeah.
No.
Interesting.
So when you keep hearing me say Komoto dragon, it's weird.
Yeah, true.
It's like people saying, oh, Bigfoot doesn't exist. Those are all dog man.
I understand what you're saying.
It's like, what?
Right, yeah. Are you sure there?
Like if you see
about this.
You've seen a hippo swimming in Lake Erie, and you're like, no, it's not a hippo. That's an elephant. What are you looking at? Why?
Right.
Well, yeah, it don't matter.
Neither of them is supposed to be here. Yeah. I understand.
Okay, that was my point. I kept reading that. I'm like, so I went and looked up, and I found up to like the 1600s. They're not there. They're not in Australia.
Interesting.
All right, so still it remains a significant number of Australians who believe that the Megalania still exists and is just as deadly as it was some 25,000 years ago. These stories, along with locals suggest that the Megalania may not be confirmed to be Australian alone. One story of a French priest traveling to New Guinea in the 1960s suggests the Megalania existence may be much more of a farther reach than most paleontologists believed. So there continues to be much debate over the possibility of Megalania surviving into modern times, though several theories propose that the species could have survived undetected.
Interesting.
So I've got actual stories for you here in a second.
Okay.
But this is a weird fight. There's not many people that are backing a dog in this either way when we're talking about the scientific field or the cryptozoology field.
As far as the Megalania being around?
Real or not.
Real or not?
I mean, as in
still
existing or not.
Okay.
This is one that even cryptozoology and most mainstream scientists kind of leaves alone.
Wonder why that is.
I don't know.
I don't really ever remember hearing about it in any of our travels yet.
Mm-hmm. It's just one that's weird. All right. So I got stories for you if you're ready.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So these are all modern stories. I got dates for them.
Okay.
How modern do you think I get?
Oh, I already know the answer to that because you told me.
That one was a lie. That was a little exaggerated.
One day?
No, 1 year.
Oh, okay.
But it's seen about 4 or 5 times a year.
Okay.
And we'll talk about Australia itself in a way that may be more prevalent. Because Australia, people don't realize how big it is and how much space that people do not live in.
Right, yeah. It's pretty barren out there, ain't it?
It's not just barren. We'll talk about it.
As far as people.
As far as people.
Yes.
Very small population for a massive continent. Australia is not just a country, it is a continent.
It's a giant island continent.
Mm-hmm. All right, so giant lizard of Jura. I think that's how it's pronounced.
Okay.
In 1890, there was apparently several sightings of a large reptile, supposedly lizard, that terrorized the town of Jura, Australia. There have been many eyewitnesses that claim they saw a very large lizard raiding farms and killing livestock, which include cattle. The consensus among all the eyewitnesses that the creature was at least 30 feet long and had a very intimidating structure. Very bulky, very big, which Megalania was.
Okay.
It was not a thin little lizard. It was built more like a pit bull.
Like a musky. Oh, okay. That's a good visual.
Yeah. They were scary to look at.
Yeah.
So the French priest in New Guinea, which I mentioned earlier, I have his story. The 1960s.
Oh, wow.
A French priest reportedly ventured into the wilds of New Guinea with a native to spread the teachings of Christianity. While traveling on the river, he spotted a giant lizard laying on a falling tree, basking. He asked the native tour guide to stop, but being frightened, the guide continued past the creature with great haste. The curious priest returned to the site the next morning and measured the tree. He was shocked. The tree was 40 feet in length, and the lizard had been the almost identical length. That priest, or the tour guide was like,
Nope.
no.
Yeah, nope.
That's the cow eater.
Exactly. Let's get the heck out of here. Huh. You said it was basking. Are lizards, our monitor lizards, Megalania, are they cold-blooded?
Yeah, they're reptiles.
Okay.
As far as I know, all reptiles are cold-blooded.
Okay.
I don't really have any weird eyeballs. I only say that because some fish, there's a handful of fish that are warm-blooded.
Of course.
Which are it's super weird.
Yeah.
It's super weird. It shouldn't happen.
Just curious.
They're not fish anymore, in my opinion.
Ah.
That's one of the key traits.
It's a water bear.
It's more like an amphibian. Oh, not even an amphibian. It's weird. It's weird. It's weird. It shouldn't happen.
Okay. Leave it there.
But yeah, so, and this is, a white person seeing it in Papua New Guinea. Or no, just New Guinea, sorry. Papua New Guinea is somewhere else in the world.
I think it's its elder parent, or elder country.
I'm not good with geology.
I don't know. I'm making it up.
So, Normandy Range sighting in 1968. There are stories of soldiers who came forward to report the sightings of what appeared to be a Megalania track during their training exercises. So he and his unit completed in the Normandy Range area in 1968. Part of the training exercise required them to traverse through the perilous sections of swamp area. While hiking through the swamp, they found drag marks, then eventually led to a carcass of a cow. The cow had been being killed somewhere else and dragged here, and appeared to have dragged a considerable distance. Before being voraciously torn apart. This thing was
shredded.
Yeah, which is the thing Komoto Dragons do. They like to get to the guts first.
Okay.
And they will make a mess
just to get there.
Yeah, there's a nasty video I can show you about Komoto Dragons, where basically it's eating this type of antelope, and it gives birth. While it's tearing this antelope apart, the antelope gives birth. The baby's like, meh. The Komoto Dragon stops after it hears it.
Oh, no.
Walks right over to the baby, gently picks it up and swallows it whole because it was easier to eat. And goes back to tearing the mom apart while she's still alive.
Oh, my gosh.
They are they do not wait.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, violent little creature.
Not little. But even Komoto Dragons are little.
Yeah. Violent creature. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so the cow been torn apart, just pieces. After a quick search, the unit found lizard tracks that were nearly 2 foot in size and tail markings that appeared to come from... Oh, next page. From a reptile. Oh my gosh.
That was funny.
Podcaster.
That was funny.
They hastily left the area, and it appeared the cow had not been there for long. The blood was fresh. It was not there.
So it just happened.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it's the 60s. They probably didn't have it, but to test If it had like that poison in it or something, Venom in it. Yeah. Sorry.
So venom dissipates. Venom dissolves very quickly after. It's weird. Venom cannot be in the system sometimes. Like I know with some snakes, especially, we look for more of what it does to the body versus actually finding the venom.
Okay.
Like that's why you can drink most venoms and not have a problem with it.
Right, because it's not poison.
Right. Good job.
Yep, I learned something.
Yeah, but venom is very biologically volatile. So it's very biological. It's also very structurally weak. So when you drink it, your stomach acid can normally very easily overpower it and turn it down to nothing.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I bet the burps smell, though.
Venom is such a weird compound.
I have no idea.
It's a very weird thing. Depending on the venom, too, and if it's neurotoxin or, there's a lot of factors.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What do you think about that one with the Army personnel?
I mean, it makes it credible.
That one was in a newspaper, too.
Okay, it lends credibility.
I didn't have their names, but there is names attached to it, which, like we talked about in the show, I enjoy the stories when there's more people you can look at and point at.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, because it's just, to me, when it's a blankless, faceless person, I could say that story. I could make up that story. You guys don't know at home.
Right, exactly. You could paint a face on your hand and talk.
This is who's seen it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, anyways, it's just, I like it when you, it was Sir Reginald, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. It gives it credibility and it makes it just more, and you're not just telling campfire stories at this point.
Yes, there you go. That's probably a better way to put it.
Yeah.
It brings it more into a actual field of science versus campfire stories. Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Thank you.
I knew you did something on this show.
Sometimes.
So the tracks in Moree. I'm going to go Moree.
Moree?
Yeah, Moree, Australia. Australian towns have some weird names.
Well, it's because they're Australian. It's from down under.
The white Australians.
What?
The white Australians are the one that named all these towns. The
Aborigines
are just...
No, yeah, they didn't name this stuff.
The Aborigines did the smart thing when the white people showed up.
It's the people who spent too much time out in the sun too long, and then they're making up names for towns and whatnot.
The Aborigines did the smart thing when the white people showed up.
Yeah, they moved.
Go out in the desert.
Yeah, exactly.
And then told them that the bunyip would get them.
There you go. Yeah.
So tracks in Moree. In the winter of 1979, a farmer in Moree, Australia, reported the sights of a giant lizard he believed to be at least 20 feet in length. Upon investigation, he found tracks that had been left behind. He called Roy Galroy, a cryptozoologist dedicated to exploring the unexplained in Australia, and he had him investigate. Many of the tracks were damaged or lost, but Gilroy was able to make a mold of one of these tracks that was still intact. Many years later, in the winter of 2008, Gilroy was able to find another site of tracks. These tracks were about 185 miles away from the town of Moree. He was able to make casts of these tracks and as well found a nearly identical set of tracks that had allegedly been casted in 1979.
Wow.
So he has two... And I watched that guy's YouTube videos, or YouTube videos about him.
Yeah.
And he seems to be, to me, pretty on par. I didn't look into him, so if there's some controversy with him, I'm sorry.
Right, yeah.
But from the little thing I seen about him last night, seemed fine.
Yeah, legit.
Seemed like
researcher, I guess.
Yeah, seemed like he cared what he was looking into and took it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
The Queensland farmer, I can pronounce that one. I watched a TV show from there. At some points in the 2000s, a farmer in central Queensland is reported to have found a cluster of unusual bones on his property. He believed it must have been a significant discovery, and he gifted the bones to the University of Brisbane, something like that. Yeah. Can you do an Australian accent?
I don't know, crikey.
I guess if you go full Steve Irwin.
Yeah, what's Steve Irwin say? That's my best go-to.
Isn't she a little beauty?
Yeah, a little. Yeah.
My favorite thing. I love Steve Irwin. Nobody take it. I'm making fun of him. He is probably the most important biological character in my life.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing about Steve Irwin ever was how he would just be like, "This is the black mamba, also known as a 12-step snake. If it bites you, you will die. It is known for its aggressiveness. Most snakes aren't. This one is. I'm going to go pick it up."
Right, exactly.
And his whole thing was showing you that these are not monsters.
Right. They're just creatures.
Yeah, they're animals. They exist, and they live, and they breathe, and they feel. And that was his whole thing of why he did that stuff. And most people thought, oh, that guy's stupid.
Crazy.
He's going to kill himself.
Yeah.
But it was the point. That was
Right.
the point of showing you these aren't monsters.
Very.
These aren't coming into your bed at night to get you. Like,
Did you ever see the South Park episode where they did of him?
yes, it was horrible.
But very funny.
Yes. All right. So, anyways, he found these bones, gifted them to the university. Allegedly, the bones were quickly determined to be a Megalania carcass. But the discovery was supposedly hushed up soon after it had been reported. This supposedly had been the creature's bones that were dated back to more than 300 years old. A startling discovery. The Smithsonian then swooped in and sent them back to the U.S.
No, it does not say that, does it?
No.
I was gonna say, there's no way. But university is involved. Academia is
I
involved.
could hear the Smithsonian go, bones? You got some bones of something big over there?
Yeah.
I love the smell of bones.
That's how they probably are. I like to think that's how they are in my head.
I got a spot in the basement.
Yeah.
At the box, it's marked Big Lizard.
And no one will ever see it again. Except for me.
I eat them.
I ate them or ate them?
I eat them.
Okay.
That's how I picture the Smithsonian now.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're
All right, so you may ask me, Justin. You may ask me.
I can?
How could a creature, if this thing is existing, okay?
Okay.
It would have to be existing in very low numbers. How could a creature like this find mates and not be caught or found? Ask me that.
Oh. Well, I had a question. How can a creature this size have mates and not be found?
Perfect. Thank you, Jay. What a smart, insightful question. So there's especially monitor lizards, especially in the genus of Komoto Dragons and the genus of Megalania. They have a really cool little trick to get around when populations get low and you can't find a mate.
Oh no.
I'm going to say this right. Parthenogenesis. I can't say it right. It means the females are able to lay clone eggs.
Okay. Oh, they just clone their own DNA?
Yep. If they can't find a mate and times are tough, they will clone their own DNA.
And oh wow, and make a viable offspring?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yep. We know Komoto dragons actually do it in zoos. It's actually kind of getting to be a problem
Why is that?
because they're not purposely breeding Komoto dragons, but females are laying eggs that are fertile. So there's no male.
Right.
She's never been with a male. Like that's happened a couple times. You look up virgin birth lizard.
Why is it a problem though?
They just don't know where for them to go. Komodo dragons need very specific facilities, and a lot of zoos can't handle them.
Gotcha.
So they got to have space for them.
You can't just like dump them out in the ocean, the eggs.
Well, we really frown upon dumping critically endangered lizards' eggs in the ocean.
What is big catapult?
These aren't bearded dragons.
Big catapult, wherever they land, they land.
They're kind of having some issues with some of these eggs
Gotcha.
in zoos. But yeah, so once again, this is based off Komodo dragons looking at Megalania. That this species could genetically be able to clone itself long enough. So if you're saying it's not seeing males, maybe, once in its lifetime.
Right, yeah.
So it could breed with the male, produce a batch then, and then its later clutches could all be genetic clones, and they're able to breed with that first set of offspring and still have genetic viability.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Now, can a clone itself?
I'm not sure how that works. I don't think we really know.
Interesting.
Because you're talking about a very long-lived lizard.
Right, yeah.
And very rare events.
I didn't know if it'd be like that movie Multiplicity, where he clones himself, and the clone clones himself, and the clone clones himself, and it has all these problems. The last one does.
Oh yeah, so it will. You can't do it forever.
Right, yeah. And
the other really big problem with cloning for these guys is disease, which we talked about with other Australian fauna. If you die from one disease, it means all of your clones are susceptible to that same disease at the same level.
Oh, yeah, it's the same creature, basically. Yes. Huh. Yeah, that's not good.
This is just to survive extinction.
Right, yeah, just to keep going a little bit longer.
Just until, hopefully, your daughters can find a mate.
Interesting. I didn't know that was besides in the ocean, I know about things like budding and splitting, but not like laying an egg. With
whole clutch, yeah. They're normally not as big as normal clutches, too. So it really just seems to be that last-ditch effort of the body being like, okay, I'm getting old.
Right.
And I haven't found a viable male. So I'm going to make sure I'm still here to find a viable male. So, it creates a clone.
Right,
It's very unique. And as far as you know, Komodo dragons do it. We think some other species of monitor lizard can do it. And we're going to assume Megalania can do it. So you could have depending on how many generations of clones or how few males there actually are, you can have a really widespread population and not have a lot of animals.
I could see that. That's just kind of, it's, my mind's still blown that it's cloning itself and laying eggs that are just like fertile.
It's they're very unique. It's very unique.
My mind, I'm like literally scratching my head trying to figure out how that even works.
And so something we've kind of been dancing around this whole episode is the Komodo dragon aspect. I can't tell you how many times doing this episode research and stuff, they say it's just Komodo dragons people are seeing.
Yeah.
And I thought I was wrong, which happens. I'm wrong. It happens.
Sometimes.
This time I'm like, I didn't think I was. I know a lot about Komodo dragons. I really enjoy the species. But it kept saying, like, it's just Komodo dragons people are seeing and stuff. And I'm like, they're not native to Australia.
And they're not that big.
Well,
Yeah, well.
But people keep talking about, like, they're just, people are seeing Komodo dragons. I looked it up. They've not been historically ever found on Australia. They're in the New Guinea Islands and stuff. And their natural range right now was like 3 little tips of islands. They are almost extinct.
Okay.
They are not doing well.
So are they even in like the mainland Australia at all?
No.
Not at all.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the other side of the continent they're being seen on.
Okay. Now I see the picture you're painting.
So these islands are on top of Australia. So sure, they can swim to the mainland every once in a while. You get one. I get that. They're not being seen there. They're being seen
On the southern
2,400 miles away on the other side of a continent.
Yeah.
So if you swim through the ocean and you work at the coastline, that's 7,000 miles.
Yeah, that's
at the minimum.
That's a long range.
You walk through the middle of Australia is almost inhabitable unless you're a desert specialist.
I say you're gonna die.
There are species that live there.
Really?
Obviously, a lot of animals live there. Super desert specialists.
Any
Komodo dragons, yes.
Tortoises?
Komodo dragons and what we're going to say Megalania are more generalist. Yeah, they can pop in the desert for a couple days and come back. They can't live there.
Right. They can't stay there.
Right. They can go and then venture and come back. But they need water.
They need to come back and get them a great white shark from time to time.
Every once in a while. You need some shrimp on the Barbie.
There you go. Ah, nice Australian reference. That was good.
That's horrible. But yeah. So
Oh, God.
it's so weird. It's like we talked about earlier, saying, I seen an elephant in the Great Lake and somebody else like, no, it's just a hippo.
Yeah. Yeah. In the Great Lake.
Like, what?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. If you're seeing Komodo dragons or you're seeing Megalania, neither one's supposed to be there. So what are you seeing? It doesn't matter. You're seeing a really big lizard. So I did promise you a sighting, and it was from the last 6 months. It didn't give a hard date.
Okay.
That a couple seen a big lizard walk right past them and go up the mountain in the right on the edge of the Australian rainforest.
Oh, okay. Which is where?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Hold on. That's the cherry I have for you.
I can't wait.
But yeah. So, and they were like, it was the biggest lizard we've seen. Quincy monitors, and we've seen that kind of stuff, which are other monitor species. This was not them. It was solid brown. It was very, very large. They said, roughly 14 to 15 feet, which is not big by the settings we're being...
Right.
But still, it's bigger than anything on the continent.
Yeah, it's a big lizard still.
And then it walked right past them and seemed not to care they were there.
That's interesting.
And they said it looked just like a Komodo dragon.
Okay. So, I mean, there's a chance it could be a Komodo dragon.
It's one of the two.
Yeah.
So, let's look at that. We talked about it off air. Oh my gosh, now I just blinked on my own word. Phenotypes.
Phenotypes, there you go.
So, some people believe that Komodo dragons and Megalania are the same species. You just have the island version, and you have the mainland version.
Island being Komodo.
Yes, and then the mainland version being Megalania, the bigger, bulkier lizard. Some people think if you introduced Komodo dragons to the mainland, they just get that big after a couple generations.
They just grow.
Which some species we talked about have phenotypic variance in the species, where the species will take advantage of different niches.
Wherever their environment is
Yes.
that they're at, yeah.
So like long-eared sunfish, for example, here in Ohio, they can be very, very large males and very, very small males come from the same parent.
Right. Phenotypes.
Yes, phenotypes. Amazing.
Right.
So there's that chance that it doesn't matter. That the Komodo dragons are actually swimming from the island and starting to take back their ancient habitats. If they are the same species of Megalania,
Right, yeah.
they're starting to take back their traditional habitats and ranges. It's fine, We're assuming we think they went extinct due to people.
I could see that. That seems to be the thing for a lot of things going extinct.
And there's anything with that, with the Komodo dragons being the same species of Megalania. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything with that?
It seems very plausible. I mean, why not? They're both inhabiting the same areas. They're both being described as the same thing. The only difference is one's just on steroids, basically. The
other one, so Komodo dragons are still the biggest lizard alive today.
Right, yeah.
And Megalania was the biggest lizard to ever exist.
Okay.
There's not many lizards bigger than ever in between.
Mm-hmm. So if it's not the same exact creature, which very well could be, it could be just an offshoot or a descendant.
We know they're very genetically close.
Right, yeah.
We know that right now the most conventional understanding is that they're basically one how do I want to say it? One branch off of each other, so they came from the same parent species.
I mean, we don't know if they all lived on Australia and then a tidal wave washed them up on those islands, and that's where they've been the rest of their...
Very good swimmers. It makes sense. It doesn't matter which way they started, from the islands to Australia or the Australia to the islands. Mm-hmm. It's not that big of a distance.
Right, yeah.
And they're very comfortable swimmers.
Which is pretty cool. I might have to look up a video that one of them swimming Komodo
I've
dragons.
seen a video of a Komodo dragon coming out swimming and then immediately running and attacking a deer from the ocean.
Oh my gosh.
He's probably been swimming, I think the guy said he's been swimming for like 60 miles. And then he got out and just ran and killed a deer.
That's nuts. Yeah, they're violent, aren't they?
They are very survival driven. This is a species that we don't have a lot of biological history on. We think they're either really young or really old.
Yeah, so we don't even know much about them in general. Huh.
So we think it's weird. There's some weird evidence that may suggest they're from the Jurassic period and they're mass extinction survivors.
Oh, okay.
And they just keep piling through.
Well, yeah, if you can
So a mass
yourself.
extinction survivor.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that. So people act like there's not prey sources, there's not resources available because all the megafauna went extinct for the Komodo dragon or for the Megalania on the mainland Australia.
Mm-hmm.
What other animal in Australia gets 20 feet long and 3,000 pounds? It's a reptile that still exists to this day in great numbers.
Crocodiles. Yep.
They're the same animal. They eat the same stuff. They're the same niche. We think Komodo dragons probably have, or not Komodo dragons, the Megalania probably have just as much of a slow digestion as Komodo dragons could. See, if you, in survival mode, you eat 2 big meals a year,
you're good for a while.
You're good. You could survive on 2 meals a year.
Wow.
Crocodiles do that in Australia. Half the year they're buried in the bottom of these dry rivers in the mud.
Yeah.
Just waiting.
Lurking.
And it's weird to me that people talk about that aspect of it. Like, they can't survive because of the food they need and stuff like that. No. You still have a reptile there that's the exact same niche, doing the exact same thing in mass numbers in some areas.
And when you're told, like, something's not supposed to be there or exist, you'll create any excuse in your mind to confirm that,
exactly.
if you don't want to believe it. So it makes sense when you're just not aware. You probably are aware. People are aware that crocodiles only eat twice a year. But when you're told, like, this thing doesn't exist.
They don't only eat twice a year. They can survive on twice a year.
They can.
Or they have to.
Right, exactly. That's what I meant.
Yeah. I know. I'm clarifying for people at home.
Gotcha.
That somebody's going to comment and be like, they eat more than twice a year. They feed them at the zoo every Thursday.
I know, and they'll come pick at our house with torches and whatnot. But, yeah, I mean, I see that all the time, though. Just people, you'll create that own bias, I guess. Is that what it'd be called? There you go.
I agree.
All right.
And it's just weird to me. So the last big question I have for you to ask me.
Oh.
If anybody hasn't picked up that at home.
I'm so inspired.
I started doing that. I'm going to tell you, everybody at home, who I ripped that bit from. It's from old Last Podcast on the Left, which is like one of the biggest podcasts in the U.S.
Oh, okay.
And the one guy, Marcus, like runs everything. And he has the other 2 guys with him. And he always like, now the real question is blah, blah, blah. And then Ben would always be like, well, Marcus, blah, blah, blah.
Right, yeah.
It just something I like.
That's funny.
But where would they be hiding? Because the thing that they have that crocodiles don't is they are mostly, we're going to say, Megalania were mostly terrestrial with aquatic abilities.
Okay.
And we're going to say the opposite for crocodiles. Mostly aquatic with terrestrial capabilities.
Okay, I'd agree.
So where are they hiding?
They dig? Oh, wait. So where are they hide? Where would a creature of such size hide all this time?
I'm glad you asked. And it is such an easy answer. Australia has the most unresearched rainforest in the world. We know less about this rainforest than we do about the deep ocean.
Oh, really? Okay, there's a mystery right there.
It's extremely... No, it's not. That's not a mystery. It's an extremely old rainforest. It's extremely dense.
Yeah.
Everything is venomous.
Well, I mean, it's a mystery what's inside there.
Right. Okay. I thought you meant it's a mystery why we're not researching it.
Yeah.
No, it's in the middle of nowhere. So there's no population near it. Mm-hmm. So it's a rainforest. Basically, imagine a rainforest in the middle of the impenetrable desert. Mm-hmm. But it's also an impenetrable rainforest.
Right.
And every animal in that rainforest can kill you.
Right. It's venomous or something.
Wants to kill you.
Right, exactly. It's probably giant spiders
So
and stuff.
most biologists are just like,
yeah.
it's not worth it.
Right.
Because, I mean, even if you get bit by the venomous animals you know about, you're not near anything for help.
Right, exactly.
You're going to die.
You're stuck out there.
And there are people that backpack in it. It has tons and tons of disappearances. People blame it on everything. I've heard everything from giant birds to dingoes to Megalania, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. It's just it's the real lost world.
This is the things we should be creating drones for.
I don't know if you could do it. It's always stormy. It's a very weird rainforest. And I actually have a map for you because I've been starting to do that for you so you can get better pictures of what I'm talking about.
Okay. Is it like the Land of the Lost?
Oh, well, the map didn't bring because I don't have black ink. So I'll show you. I'll show you personally where. So this is the rainforest specifically we're talking about.
Yeah.
Komoto dragons are all the way up here.
Northern side.
So yeah, if you're looking at Australia at home, you guys pull up a map. The very tip, what they call the crown of Australia.
The northern tip.
Yep, with the inland sea. That's the islands above that are where Komoto dragons are. If you go all the way to the bottom and all the way west, there's a big black patch. That's all rainforest.
Interesting.
There's no populations
down there.
Yeah.
Huh. I've never been to
There are
Australia.
also rainforest all over this side, all over up here. This is the desert belt, though.
Yep, I did know that. The whole middle is a big desert, that's from what I understand. Never been there. Would like to go sometime. But I don't think I'm going to go there looking for Megalania. I'll pass on that.
So you have, and we're going to talk about this forest still, an untouched Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
Where ancient monsters could still be. Mm-hmm. And all kinds of Australian people look at this. There's a guy doing yowie research in there right now.
In the forest?
Yeah, in the very edge.
Okay.
Because he's like, this is as far as we can make it in.
Yeah.
And so yowie is the Australian Bigfoot, kinda. Mm-hmm. We'll say kinda. But they're having evidence, but they can't. It's so hard because they're having cameras disappear. And the one guy, he was a yowie researcher, said he had a Megalania come through camp and eat all their cameras.
Oh, wow.
Which I could see. It smells weird. I think they're mostly big scavengers. They're not going to pass up food.
Right, yeah.
They've never smelled a camera before. It's different, so this might be edible.
Right, yeah.
But he's like, they were like ripped off the trees, and you can see like claw marks. Because Komodo dragons will mark kind of like deer. If anybody at home has seen deer rubs, Komodo dragons will these giant scrape marks.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to assume Megalania can, because that's all we can do.
Right, yeah. If we're just assuming they're not one and the same,
close.
But very close, yeah.
But yeah, so this forest, I got some just stats for you if I can find them. Let's
okay.
see. But yeah, there's little like canopy tours and stuff like that you can do. So North Queensland is the exact opposite side of the big rainforest, and there's a giant rainforest there too.
Okay.
And these are not researched areas. And it's just because the Australian rainforest is probably one of the deadliest places on the planet.
Interesting. Yeah, that'd be cool to check out. Or just see a documentary on someone like getting in there, you know?
I'm just trying to read. You keep talking.
Well, this whole forest thing kind of has my interest peaked because you think you hear about the Amazonian rainforest and stuff like that and all the things that are in there. And we've explored it, yeah, sure, but...
The Amazonian rainforest is a lot newer of a rainforest. And when we talk about rainforest, it's very, very young.
Right.
It's mostly man-made.
Yeah, which is a cool story.
But literally, the South American rainforest, the Amazon, is what creates the weather, the biggest part of the weather for Africa, the big belt of Africa. And that's why the cutting down the rainforest is literally causing so many droughts in Africa. Because the precipitation that the Amazon rainforest produces goes straight over the Atlantic Ocean to these areas in Africa. And now they're not getting anymore because rainforest is like tiny.
Getting chopped down or whatever. Then you got your forests up in like Siberia and Russia that's like completely unexplored. And
Yeah, but they don't. Yeah, they're a little different.
well, yeah,
The permafrost forest.
but it's just these remote areas intrigue me.
So, and then a thing with the rainforest aspect, I got a little blurb for you. But there's a big argument within the Megalania and paleontologists that look into this, that it was a grassland creature versus a rainforest creature.
Okay.
Because out its size. You know, you don't normally have something that big living in a rainforest.
Right.
But it's also very low to the ground, and it's a mild lizard. It's taking access to waterways. It's eating snakes. Mm-hmm. This thing loves probably eating snakes because mild lizards love eating snakes.
Okay.
It don't matter how big you get.
Still love snakes.
Snakes are like spaghetti. Okay, so Australia has many types of rainforest, varying with rainfall and latitude. Tropical and subtropical are found in the northern and eastern Australia in the wet coastal areas. Warm, temperate rainforests grow in the South, or New South Wales and Victoria. And cool, temperate rainforests grow are found in Victoria and Tasmania, in small areas with high altitude. But yeah, they have, and then there's dry rainforest and there's coastal rainforest and subcoastal rainforest, and there's monsoon rainforest.
So they got like every rainforest in the book there.
I don't think there's any types of rainforest that aren't found in Australia.
It sounds like it.
And these areas are they're impossible to study. As of now, they're just, not impossible. Nobody is taking the risk.
There you go.
And I don't blame them.
No, not one bit.
But yeah. So now it's free talk at Megalania. I hope this wasn't too boring of an episode. I know it was a lot of reading.
No, it's interesting, especially because it's a documented real creature, I guess, if you put it that way.
Yes.
And there's still like signs and weird things about it being around.
There's one thing I did forget. So the Aborigines, the hunting party Aborigines, they never had fires at night. I know I've told you this story with them. They never had fires at night. And the big reason for this is they would say the Megalania would come at night and eat you and then take all the fire and spread it out and lay on the coals.
Stay warm all night.
And that's kind of a weird thing. So Komoto dragons basically go neotonic at night.
Okay.
Not neotonic. Oh gosh, what's that word? Neotonic salamanders.
Basically, they fall asleep.
Catatonic.
Like I go into a coma?
Yes.
Okay.
They turn off.
Yeah.
Because nothing bugs them at night. Literally, I was watching videos of people putting tracking vests on Komoto dragons, and they would just wait for them to fall asleep, and then they pick up their big fat legs, and they put a little backpack on them.
Holy crap.
And it's just like, you're really confident they don't wake up.
Exactly, yeah.
The first guy probably walked up to one and started kicking it.
Yeah, and then
poking it with a stick. And he's like, Phil, do you think these things are smart enough to play dead? Or do you think it's actually asleep? Let's get the intern.
Yeah. Let's have him strap a backpack.
Hey, George. Yeah, no, he's asleep. He's a catatonic. Yeah, he's catatonic. Put the backpack on him.
And George survived.
And George's like, okay. It's growling a lot. Is it weird? Their eyes are open? Yeah, they don't got eyelids. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It seems to be looking into my soul and salivating.
Well.
Just hurry up.
It worked, obviously.
The sun's coming up. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But yeah. So it's just, do you think they're still around?
Yeah, I'm going to say I'd probably.
Have I convinced you?
I would say, yeah. I won't rule it out. I'd say I'd rather lean toward it still being around than being completely gone. And what these people are seeing is just another Komoto dragon.
This is, for me, one of the few cryptids I look at. I'm 100% sure they're still out there. Mm-hmm. And the place they would be is Australia. It's like Siberia for Bigfoot.
There you go. Yeah. Well, yeah. There you go. It's good. That's a good comparison.
Or the Pacific Northwest, whatever. These just massive rainforest that people don't live in.
Exactly. And all the sightings and stuff. You said they were sighted around the southern part of the continent.
They're pretty much sighted right around the coastal areas where all these rainforests are.
Exactly. And which is the opposite side of where Komodo dragons are living. So.
And it could be people seeing Komodo dragons. That's still weird.
That's one heck of a trek.
That's still something to look into.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
And if I can't tell you how many times I've seen people just using Komodo dragons as an excuse. Where are the Komodo dragons? Why aren't people finding the Komodo dragons? If
Oh,
you're saying
gotcha.
that all these things are Komodo dragons,
Then where are they?
Why aren't you finding the Komodo dragons? It's another big lizard.
Right,
It shouldn't be
yeah.
that hard if you're saying it's just Komodo dragons.
Right.
There's not one time you've seen a cop with the one in the back of the car, like, I got him.
Right. Yeah. And then, burned it and buried it. And
Oh, no, he took it to the Animal Society, and then they
there you go, incinerated
incinerated it.
Or he took it to the Smithsonian.
Nobody takes anything to the Smithsonian.
Oh, yeah, they come and take it.
Like, that's really cool. You found that.
That's
ours.
We need to study.
Oh, thank you for your generous donation to the Smithsonian. I'm actually keeping this.
Thank you for your donation.
You're not. You're
Click.
not. Here's the feds. They're going to tell you that this is actually public domain.
This is where you need that shotgun sound effect.
Bullets are cheap.
Yeah.
You know, you got a pretty wife over there. It'd be
lot
a shame
cheaper
if she ended up in the Smithsonian too.
Yeah. Bullets a lot cheaper than bones.
In the primate bin.
Yeah, exactly. We'll glue her jawbone to a monkey head.
So yes, any other thoughts for the Megalania?
No, I believe you on this
Real
one.
world dragons.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Why are they called Komodo dragons? Dragons?
Because they're dragons.
What? They drag their tail?
They do drag their tail.
Ah, that's why.
No, because they're actually dragons.
Okay, gotcha. They don't spit fire.
They spit venom. They don't spit venom, but they have a
Secrete.
venomous bite. And the fire thing is very new for dragon lore.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to be I'm just trying to figure this out.
No, really, dragons are just big lizards.
Okay, understood. But yeah,
Megalania is the
biggest
lizard.
one. Yeah, the biggest, buffest one. We'll have to get some art made of a Megalania fighting a Komodo.
That wouldn't be art. That'd be a Megalania swallowing a Komodo.
Oh, okay.
All right. I have been the great and powerful mystery, the Megalania loving maniac.
Oh, yeah, true. I've been Jay.
Okay, together we've been Cryptids of the Corn podcast where magical thinking, or science and magical thinking combined. All right, we'll catch you next week.
You've been listening to Cryptids of the Corn. Be sure to join us in the next episode where we tantalize your intellect and expand the horizons of your mind. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we really appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Until then, stay magical.